Georgios, welcome to the Gstaad Guy podcast. It's so great to have you here. You're Georgios to me, but you're Yorgo Frangulis to your Greek relatives. You're a Greek born and raised in Brazil, the founder of Oakberry Açaí, a business that I love as a consumer, I admire as a friend. You are one of my first followers on Gstaad Guy, one of my first supporters, and now an official backer and investor of Poubelle, which means the world to me. Through your amazing hard work, you took Oakberry from one location to now 900 locations globally. You're on the front cover of Forbes Brazil, and you sponsor your own F1 team, Alpine. You're a big fan of F1, and now the Oakberry logo is on the side of the car. So, huge deal, huge honor to have you here, and very excited to talk.
Yeah. That was the best intro ever that anyone did to me, like f***ing insane.
I think you said it
but for real, it was definitely the best intro that I ever got in my life. Like, I don't think my mom would be able to pull out so much good stuff about me, you know?
I mean, it's all true.
I would definitely want to be my friend or f*** me if I, you know?
I mean, there's one thing I didn't even mention. You funded your first store through an insurance payout after you battled cancer in your thyroid.
True.
Like, that I think is the most impressive part as well. The way that you took a horrible moment in your life and turned it into the biggest opportunity. I'm excited to dive into that.
Now, yeah, it's like whenever, when you don't have an option, I mean, you either make it or, you know, so I didn't have an option. So
thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
Around the world with your host, the Gstaad Guy, we welcome you back to the Gstaad Guy podcast, sharing stories of excellence with those in the know for those who just know.
I'm a big fan of the business you've built, Oakberry. If you don't mind, I'd love to hear how that came about and your founding story for the business.
Sure. So I mean, it's kind of funny to tell you about a story because you actually know the story, so it feels like I'm just telling you the same story over and over again. But yeah, I'm Greek Brazilian, so I was born and raised in São Paulo in Brazil. My dad's family is from Greece and Austria. My mom's family is from Italy and France. But I mean, if you have your granddad, your dad's dad being Greek, there's no way you're going to be anything else but Greek, like all over. So I can say that I was raised in a very Greeky way, and I'm very proud of that. I think it built a lot of my personality, the way I see stuff, and I think that also the entrepreneurship that kind of runs in my veins came from my granddad that showed up in Brazil with $30 in his pocket, running from the Second World War. He was a soldier in the war. Showed up in Brazil. Definitely not the easiest of the environments, not knowing the language, and he thrived. He made sure that he could provide to the family and everything, and he was very successful. So I grew up like seeing the whole story with my own eyes, and I think that kind of inspired me a lot. And so long story short, I went to law school in Brazil. Never wanted to be a lawyer. I knew I wouldn't be a lawyer. I just thought that, okay, law is something that can help me in anything that I choose to do. Also, I mean, I thought, okay, let's do law or business or, you know, business administration or something. But business, you can kind of learn in the streets. Law, I mean, if you try to learn in the streets, you're probably not going to do it the right way. Yeah. So, yeah, I went for law school in Brazil. Right after I finished university, I moved to Miami. Tried to do real estate, so got some money landed from family and friends, wanted to build, didn't work out the way I wanted, sold the lot that I bought with a friend, sold the apartment that I bought to flip, made some money, and then I said, okay, I have to figure out what I'm going to do in my life and like what's the next step. And then I went to California just because I thought, okay, California is the crib for any trend setting, like that's going to become something big worldwide. I wasn't with Açaí in my head. I wasn't with food in my head. I just wanted to see what was going on, what were like in in the world in California back then. That's like 2015, early 2016. And then I saw that people were like crazy about acai in California, starting to go crazy about acai. And acai is something that is native from the Amazon forest. So native from Brazil. It's something that it's been very mainstream in every big city in Brazil for the past like 30 years. And when I tried acai in California, people were selling acai for like $30 a piece, big lines, no standards. It wasn't good at all. And it wasn't their fault. Like they were doing it the way they could because they didn't had the acai, full acai, which now we can call the full Oakberry experience back then. And I said, okay, there is probably a good opportunity here because it's a Brazilian fruit, a Brazilian commodity, something that is healthy, something that I know that can be standardized to the US standards of food and beverage and like fast food kind of operation. And if I can come up with a brand that is cool enough to take over like the category as a whole, I'll probably have a cool business. So I was full of ideas, but like my bank account wasn't full at all. So I said, okay, I'm going to try to start this business in California. I tried. I couldn't rent a spot because nobody would give me like a cool piece of real estate in Santa Monica or surroundings because I was a 20-something-year-old guy without any track record. And I said, okay, so let's start this business in Brazil. Invited a friend to join me, Renato. He's still running the business with me now. And then we started the business in São Paulo in 2016, December 2016, with the like last of the last funds that I had. I actually didn't have the funds. It's a sad but cool story. So I had cancer in 2016, and I was I had no money, and it wasn't that bad of a cancer. It was thyroid cancer, but it was like a big one. So I had to go into surgery, took off the whole like thyroid gland. I don't know how to say it in English. And then I said, okay, now I have no money. And it was like October 2016. Everything was ready, but we needed like those last like 50 grand to actually make Oakberry work. And then I said, okay, I have to save from everywhere. So I started to call like the banks where I had accounts just to cancel those random insurances that they sell you or whatever shit they sell you throughout your whole life. Like $50 a month, $100 a month, something that is just, you just see they taking it out of your account. And then I called to cancel one, and the lady that got the phone said, oh, but this insurance is so good. I said, yeah, but I just went through something big. I'm positive I don't need life insurance now because I'm good now. And she said, yeah, but this one, it also covers heart diseases. I said, like what? She said, like cancer. I said, well, okay, I just had cancer. Do I qualify for the insurance like premium? She said, yeah, not the full premium, but 75%. I said, okay, what should I do? She said, just send your documents and diagnosis and everything to this email and wait for their response. So I did that. It was like October, and I got 75% of the premium, which was like, I don't know, 60, 70 grand, which was just enough to actually put Oakberry to work. And yeah, from day one, we started the business in Brazil. Even with all of the acai available, people understood that we were trying to do it in a different way, trying to make Oakberry like a actual meal possibility for them instead of going to any other fast food in a shopping mall or a food hall or something. And we grew fast in Brazil from this first location to 30 locations on the first year, then to 100 locations in the second year. And then we started to expand internationally, US, Australia, UAE, Portugal, and yeah, now we have over 900 locations, 45, 46 countries. It's been a hell of a ride. Very, very cool, but it's exactly what I was thinking about when I thought about the concept. I said, okay, this can be something global if done right. I I think it was just like a bit lucky on the way that I was born in Brazil, and I had the knowledge of how good açaí can be, like how indulgent açaí can be. And at the same time, like with all of the healthy food trends and stuff, it was something that people were looking up to. And yeah, right timing, right everything. Definitely not the best environment to start, not the best situation, but I mean, we were able to pull it out and thrive, and it was good. So yeah, that's a long story, not that short. Talking a lot, but
perfect.
Yeah.
So,
by the way, I think I never told the story about the cancer. Maybe I told Forbes when they interviewed, not in that much of details.
yeah.
But I don't want it to feel like I don't want anyone to feel bad for me. I'm good and everything is good. And
Absolutely.
yeah,
Thank you for sharing.
it was
Thank you so much for
it was
opening
good. It was good at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I cannot complain.
That jump from getting the insurance claim to opening your first location and then having 30 locations in the first year is pretty insane. And then 100 year two, and now 900. But I'd love to talk about that first location and what it took to make that work.
It's I would say that every business is very hard, or should be very hard in the beginning, for you to actually understand what you're doing. But I can say that food is one of the toughest ones, one of the toughest environments. Competition is crazy, and it has to be like, liability is crazy. You know, you're actually giving 100, 200 people a day something that they're gonna put inside of their body. So I was like all over it, and I think that by being something that I thought about, developed, and draw from scratch, thinking about the U.S. market, which is definitely the most competitive market for F&B, for food and beverage, like worldwide. And then we started in Brazil. Kind of the standards were higher than what usually is offered in Brazil. So there was like an advantage that it wasn't a planned advantage. It's not like, oh, we're going to develop in the US and then we're going to start in Brazil. We just had to start in Brazil because we hadn't no other way to start a business. And I think that made people understand faster what we were trying to do, why we were like willing to take something that was so like widely available and mainstream in Brazil already, and give it a different approach, and actually remember people that, okay, açaí is not an ice cream flavor. Açaí is something that is sourced by the riverside communities in the Amazon forest. It's all natural. It's like the fruit that has the more antioxidants in the nature, and it's something that you can have like instead of anything else, and you're gonna feel good about yourself, and it tastes f***ing good. You're an Oakberry,
Yeah.
I would say, addict. So you know how good is it, how good it is, and you don't like, it's something that you can kind of combine. So I think that people understood that fast, and I love branding, and I love brands, and I love how people choose what they're gonna buy, how they're gonna live and stuff. I was always like looking what people are doing and everything as a hobby. Like I like that. I like fashion. I like brands. I like to know why people are going for stuff. And usually people, either because they think they're too good or because they think they're too bad, they think they're very different, like from each other. But at the end of the day, we're very similar on most of the things. And I thought, okay, if it's something that it's missing in my life, if I do that, I'm not much better or much worse than anyone. I've been like raised in the same environment and same city, and I think if it works for me, it's probably gonna work for everyone else. And also when we went like global with the brand, like people were like, how are you going to sell açaí? Because in Brazil, it was, everybody knew. In California, some people knew. In New York. But in Dubai, nobody knew about açaí like 7-8 years ago. In South Korea or in China or in Croatia, or like in many of the countries like Saudi Arabia. Nobody ever heard about açaí before we showed up and opened up the first shop. And I thought, okay, if it makes sense here, and now like the world is so connected, everybody, they know the same people, they look up to the same people, they want to be part of something like bigger. I think if it works here, it's going to work like everywhere else, and it did. So, I mean, I think that's why we were successful, and we grew very organically. Like, and we never did advertisement. Okay, buy an Oakberry franchise or do something. We wanted people that were customers, like our clients, to feel like, okay, this makes a lot of sense, and I want to be part of that, because then they actually like physically fell in love with the concept and with the brand and with the product, and they already know, or they think they know why they're buying it. It makes much easier for them to be part of that in a more like particular way, you know?
I love that. And to my understanding from what you've told me, açaí in Brazil is really like a staple food. It's not this occasional dessert-like superfood that we have elsewhere around the world.
Mm-hmm.
Traditionally, in the Amazon rainforest, people have it with fish, and it's a whole different thing, right?
Yeah, that's so when they first discovered like açaí, I would say in the big cities in Brazil, was because those like riverside communities, they were having açaí as their main meals every day. What they were doing was they were just hopping on the trees, açaí trees, to harvest for themselves. But back in the day, they didn't understood the value that açaí had. So they were eating açaí, but they didn't consider it something valuable as a food. I mean, and I'm talking about money. They didn't thought that they could sell that and make money selling açaí and professionalize the whole chain. But then people figured out, okay, like why are they eating it, and why are they healthy, and you know, and we should also put that into our diets. And then it started to like spread fast, and this riverside population in the Amazon forest, there are still the same people that are harvesting the açaí now, but in a much more professionalized way. So now you have, like, we call it co-ops, which is basically families. They have something like a cooperative company, and then we qualify them. We give them all of the training, all of the appliances to make sure that they're doing it the right way, and we make sure that their kids are going to school. And by harvesting the açaí, you end up, it's kind of crazy, but you end up forcing the population to preserve the forest, because you don't have to cut an açaí tree to have the açaí. But before, they were eating the açaí and cutting the trees to sell the palm hearts that was inside of like the tree itself, because they didn't know the value that the açaí had. Now that they understand that, and they see that they're making money, and it's very tricky to fulfill the economic needs of such a secluded region without harming the environment over there. And açaí is like one of the guardians of the region, because you kind of force them to preserve in the best way possible, because they're going to harvest, and then the same tree is going to give more açaí after 6 months, and that on and on and on. And at the same time, they become like professionals on what they're doing, and you kind of make the economy grow in the best way possible. So we fully verticalized the company 3.5 years ago. So we take care of the whole supply chain. That was very necessary for us to make sure that we would be able to supply to all of our shops with the high growth that we have, opening like 200-300 locations every year, plus we're now in supermarkets in the US, in Portugal, in Australia, in Brazil. We just signed South Korea now, huge agreement. Like they're nuts about Oakberry in South Korea. It's insane. I don't know like what happened there, but it's
generally a very health conscious culture, so it could be the health benefits.
Definitely, I think that combined with the way it looks, because they're very image oriented, also very social media oriented also, and Oakberry is something that can go quite viral because it looks purple and everything, and with the layers, and it's cool. So they like it. And yeah, so we had to make sure that we had all of the certifications and everything to export to over like 40 countries. And to make sure that that is happening, we have to make sure that from the bottom, from within the forest, everything is happening the right way.
I mean, something you explained to me is that the people who live riverside in the Amazonian rainforest, they pick the acai and eat it nearly immediately because it actually goes bad very quickly.
Yeah.
And that's why you freeze it.
Exactly.
And export it frozen.
So yeah, the acai is, I would say you can think about acai like the fruit for people. If you never saw an acai, it looks like a blueberry. Like
there's a seed inside.
There is a huge seed inside. So it's like 10% pulp, 90% seed. And it gets bad in hours after you took it out the tree. So they would just harvest and eat whatever they need for that day. In our case, which is a different quantity, of course, than a family for their own survival needs. We have to. Our factory is like in the middle of the forest. Like it's in the region. It's a state called Pará in Brazil, in the north of the country, which is already like Amazonian region. We harvest and then we just take it to the factory. Then you clean the fruit. And then you separate the pulp, and then you make like huge pulp bars, like frozen pulp bars, and then we store them frozen. Then to do the acai sorbet, which is the final product that you're going to find in our stores. Then you add the agave, you add water and stuff, and then you get the final product, which is also organic and everything. But just the frozen pulp bar is what is good is it's fruit. So once it's frozen, shelf life is like 18, 24 months. So it's, I would say it's a tricky supply chain, but it's manageable, and it gives us a huge competitive advantage because we know what we're doing. We have the best people in the market, from harvesting to exporting, and yeah. But yeah, it's a tricky like harvesting, and so many different stages. I mean, at some point you have to go to the factory to actually see it with your own eyes.
I've never been to Brazil.
Yeah, I know. You were supposed to, I remember a couple of years ago, but we're gonna make that happen.
I'd love to. This podcast is brought to you by Poubelle, by the Gstaad Guy, the sterling silver charm-based jewellery, hand-painted with enamel, allowing you to express all the things you love and all the things you may question. And now back to the Gstaad Guy podcast. And one thing I'd love to touch on with you, I think your product is undeniably great, and you captured a corner of the market with your product. But I think what you've also done amazingly well is create a very strong brand and create an identity for a food brand, which is very difficult, because I think the Oakberry brand is stronger than the Açaí brand for you in particular. I think, at least from my experience, people don't decide, oh, I'd like to get an Açaí, and then say, is it this or Oakberry? They actually decide, I'd like to go to Oakberry. There's this very elevated experience. It's a very clinical experience. Everything feels very clean and sterile, which is nice in a food environment, especially when you're thinking of health and wellness. It's also consistent globally, which is very important. I think there's slight localizations in some markets where there's toppings that are different, but generally you get the same product everywhere around the world. And the brand is widely understood as fast, convenient, but premium, healthy food. And I don't think that's an accident. It must be a strategy. How did you go about building a luxury brand as your first business?
I was always very into like branding and brands and why people. I like to buy stuff a lot. You know, now I can buy a bunch of stuff through like my work, and because I tried to make it possible. But when I wasn't able to buy stuff, I was looking at stuff and looking up to people that could do that, and not necessarily because of the price, but because of how cool something is, and how exclusive it can feel, and how like community oriented it can be, and how you manage to make these people to feel part of something bigger, and then we thought, okay, like how to take something that it's actually boring, like food is usually boring, you know, like it's very hard to try to create a brand that people would be willing to wear a t-shirt of a fast food like chain. Not many people in the market were able to do that, and we wanted from day one to have a brand that people would be willing to wear and not just eat. And for that we needed to be in the hands of the right people, offering the right experience, starting in the right locations, and I think the most important is to create this different aura like around the brand, by making people feel like even if they cannot be on the spot where Oakberry is being offered, they're having the exact same experience that those customers are having. And by that I mean, okay, we had like very limited funds for marketing and stuff. So what would be the best approach? Best approach was for me to be a pain in the ass and try to get Oakberry into like the Super Bowl or Formula One or the US Open, some like landmarks of the world of events that it's like undeniable to everyone that, okay, if someone made it there, it's because it's cool. And even if I cannot be there, but I'm having the same experience that someone that is in the Super Bowl, you kind of feel part of that, the whole experience. And that was the strategy that I think that made Oakberry kind of explode, but keep this sense of luxury, premiumness, exclusivity, and we keep actually doing the same like strategy. And if I show you my marketing budget and what we do, you're gonna say, it's impossible to do what you guys do, because we're 85% franchise business. A franchise business, you make money on royalties, and you have some like 1%, 2%, 3% of advertisement fee, and you have to invest that. But when you have 45 countries, you have to invest in 45 countries at the same time. That's definitely not enough. So you have to be smart to be able to create this like premiumness feeling without having the ability to invest like crazy or big brands do. And that's why we do like Formula One. Formula One is like, okay, every time when I started to talk about Formula One, I'm crazy about Formula One since I was very young. My biggest dream in my life is to own a Formula One team. That's the environment where I feel like, okay, I'm in the right spot when I'm here, and I just love the sport.
I mean, going from using your insurance compensation to having 900 branches globally and sponsoring your own F1 team is really insane, especially for an F1 fan. How does that feel?
It feels good. I love the feeling. Like it feels like an accomplishment and something that, I mean, when you're thinking about that your whole life and then you see it happening, it feels great. I'm not like the most like celebratory kind of guy. Like I don't, yeah, we made it and everything. And because I I just love like what I do, and I love Oakberry, and it's just another day at the office at the end of the day. But when people talk to me about that, sometimes they made me understand like how big it is, because then you compare to the other companies that are there. They're not 5, 6, 7-year-old companies like Oakberry. They're not Brazilian-based companies. They're not food and beverage companies. They're huge like oil companies or telecommunications, like those guys that,
Yeah.
or it's like Amazon or something, you know, or something like that. So it feels good, and I think it's a smart strategy when you have to show your brand at the same time, build this sense of exclusivity, make people understand. Because being in a Formula One car, it's a statement that you don't have to explain. People, they see that and they understand. You don't have to know shit about Formula One. You know it's the most exclusive sport in the world. And, okay, Formula One now, it's 24 races per year, 24 different cities, probably 18 different countries.
How many of those cities of the Formula One races do you have?
Most of the cities we have locations.
Yeah.
But that's not even the main point. The main point is that every race is showcased in like over 200 countries. And like which other way you would find to be in 24 weekends, so it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, on live TV in 200 countries, and building this sense of exclusivity, and at the same time showing your brand. Like I cannot think about other platform to do that with the same amount of money that we put there. So what the exercise that I do, not to feel crazy, is, okay, I do the math, like I'm gonna take the full amount that we're paying, I'm gonna divide that by the number of races, and then I divide that by the number of countries where we have stores. And then you come to like, okay, we're spending maybe a couple $1,000 per country per weekend to be showcased everywhere. And then when you do that math, it seems
the no-brainer.
It seems so obvious, you know.
Yeah.
I hope Flavio and Alpine, they're not listening to the podcast, right? They're gonna raise our contract for next year. They're gonna think it's actually so cheap for them. Yeah. But I think it just makes sense. And another sport like tennis, it's also a sport that it's global.
Yeah.
And if you make sure that you're connected with the right person or the right event, so we're very good at like we just did the Miami Open. So of course there's Arena. She's sponsored by Oakberry, not because we are a couple. She was sponsored before. That's how we met. Because we just love her as an athlete. Also, like everybody loves her as an athlete. I love her in every other possible way. But then we do the Miami Open. But we're good on like creating and producing content at the Miami Open. You don't have to be the main sponsor of the Miami Open to show people that you're there, like selling your products or giving out your products or doing something. And then the players are eating, and the customers are, and the attendants, they're all eating Oakberry. And we're good to show that to our customer. And that's very cost effective at the end of the day when you still have a tight marketing budget. So
I'd love to talk about you as a person and your personal journey with all of this, because I know, based on stories you've told me, a lot of people doubted what you could and couldn't accomplish before doing this. And I think it's very easy to bet on the winning horse and say, yeah, the guy who has 900 locations is dating the US Open champion and sponsors an F1 team. He's doing great. You know, it's fairly obvious. But it wasn't always like that. You know, in 2015, before you started Oakberry, you told me you had a lot of people in your life who didn't believe you could accomplish what you did. And I'd love to know more about how that felt and where your sense of conviction came from. If it came from somewhere, maybe you also struggled with that yourself.
I think that also comes a bit from the way I was raised and the way I believe the world is at the end. So I think that, I don't know, it's just when people are telling you that they don't actually believe what you're telling them that you're going to do, it's usually people that they envy you. They actually like you, and they're trying to protect you from doing something crazy and spending the last like dime you have, like or the insurance money that you just got on an Açaí like kiosk in Brazil, where you have 1,000 of Açaí kiosks for the past 20 years and nobody's making any money on that. And then you come up with the most random idea and say, yeah, I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna do it and I'm gonna take it global. And people are like, you're gonna screw up yourself. And they try to protect you. Like you're smart, you went to law school, go work on something. Even like family, you know. My family always supported, but like supporting, but like the guy's gonna do something that he shouldn't be doing, you know. So I think it's I actually like I wasn't expecting people to cheer me up and say, that's the most amazing idea ever, and you're gonna kill it, and you're gonna become a freaking billionaire by that. Because if they said that, it would be like, okay, it's too obvious. Probably someone would be doing that already if it's too obvious to everyone. But at the same time, I was sure that as customers, all of them, they were telling me that, okay, it's crazy, it's not going to work. I was sure that it's something that was missing in their life because it was missing in my life as someone living in a society, you know. So it's, you have to like be true to yourself. I don't think you have to be like crazy, but if it makes sense for you, usually people, they don't know what they want. And if it makes sense for you and you figure out that it makes sense for you, it's very hard to figure out what actually makes sense for you and what is lacking in your life. Yeah. If you come up with something that you say, okay, this really makes sense, just do not listen to like the naysayers and go for it, because unless you're completely nuts and you think different from everyone else, and I mean that in a good way, like you're Elon Musk or something, it's gonna make sense. And I think that it's much easier to do something like thinking inside of the box and not outside of the box, than trying to come up with the craziest idea or invent something too crazy. And by the way you do stuff, I think that you actually, I don't know if you know that you agree with me, but I would say that you have to agree with me on that. For sure. Like when I think about the Gstaad guy or Poubelle or like it just, you didn't create the world. You see something and then you go there and you do something different. Because I think this guys like Musk or Bezos or Zuckerberg, Allison, this is like 10 in a generation, 10 guys in one generation. Those are the guys in our generation. I mean, I'm much older than you, but those are the guys in our generations. And I know I'm not capable of doing what they do, and I wouldn't be willing to become able to. So like being able to just think about something that makes you feel good about, and not listening to people because they usually don't know what they want. Yeah. And I believe I'm good in understanding what people want and how people like to be treated. And, you know, I think that's the most important.
I love that. I mean, you brought up Gstaad guy and my own belief in Gstaad guy, but you saw something in what I was building very early on, which actually went far beyond your support as a fan of my content and a support of me as a friend when we built a friendship. But you also really believed in me as a business operator. And you're an investor in Poubelle, my jewelry business. And more than just being an investor who, by the way, you barely asked for information. You believed in me as a founder. And you said, listen, whatever you do, I'm behind you, I'll back you. And it means a lot. But I'd love to know, because I know you have a lot of friends that you don't back. So I'd love to know what it is that you look for when you see a business or a founder that you want to stand behind. And I'm not doing this to fish for compliments, which I do appreciate from you, of course. I'm just very curious about where you find that trust.
I think it's like, I think it's more than trust, or it's different than trust, because like you actually, I've been around and I've been disappointed by people that I trusted a lot. So trust is something that you're gonna build like with time and everything, and by seeing how the person acts in like very different situations, how they're gonna treat a waiter in a restaurant. I think that shows like if you can trust the person or not. When I'm thinking about making an investment or thinking about a business, and I'm not like I don't have my own like VC, I don't have my own family office. I invest in stuff that I really like and I really believe. And of course, I invest in people that I really like and I really believe, because I know from my own experience that, and I mean, I don't want to be modest on this one. If it wasn't by the way I think and do stuff, Oakberry wouldn't be Oakberry at all. Mm-hmm. So I know that the most important part when you're building a brand from scratch is who's taking care of that, who's taking care of the brand, who's going to think about the way to make the brand. And it doesn't really matter which industry. It could be jewelry, it could be Açaí, it could be water. We have seen that happening in so many different industries. By the way the person understands the way to connect to people. And I see that in you. I mean, when we first talked about Poubelle, I mean, I already knew you enough to know how skilled you are on that. So it was very obvious that you have, and I had no idea if you had the business ability, but I knew that you were already like building a team to help you, because that's also something that I value a lot. When you know that you're not the best in everything. Like you open up an Excel spreadsheet in front of me. I have no clue what to do with the spreadsheet. I don't know how to operate a PowerPoint. Like and it's not like I'm 70 years old. It's just something that I was never like passionate about. And I knew that Oakberry was growing. I had to have people to help me to do that. They're much better than me on that. And I felt like you were the same, you know? Like from the beginning, you didn't advertise yourself once. You advertised the people that you're bringing with you and connected me to the people. So, okay, like the guy, the Gstaad guy, he knows like his limitations. Of course you have limitations and I have limitations, and it's very brave to know that in the beginning, even more when you're asking for or like introducing someone to a new venture or asking for an investment. Not what you did with me. You did just like show me Poubelle, and I thought, okay, it's so cool. I want to do it. But when you like at some point soon, you're gonna talk to investors and you're gonna like sit with banks, and then I also think that's what they want to see, you know. And I don't know. I think that believing the person and understanding that not necessarily you can trust the person as a businessman, because business, they can go south or north and you never know what's going to happen. But for the person to understand that they have their limitations and they're already thinking about having the right people to help and like kind of thinking ahead, that's something that helps a lot and makes me more confident on whatever. And I made some very shitty investments, I can tell you. Because maybe that's not the smartest way of doing it, but I'm not a professional investor. I want to do stuff that I believe in, people that I believe. And I mean, but Poubelle, you know, I think it's going to be big. It's so cool. It's so different. And I think it fill in all of the blanks of why you need to have like a cool brand, spreadable, and, you know, something that can be, I mean, it already is. It's what one and a half year since you first launched.
We launched last September, so it's been 8 months.
Okay, that's insane. You know, like we've been together in Dubai at the pop-up at the financial district. insane, like insane. And people coming, you see people coming because they want to take a picture with you, but you see a lot of people coming because they love Poubelle, because it's cool. I mean, that's it. And you didn't invented the wheel. You just said, okay, this is going to be cool. You know, it's there's that if you know feeling at the same time on the right price point, and yeah. So it's
I love that you say that, and I really appreciate it. I appreciate the
congratulations.
I think it wouldn't be possible without you and your love and support.
You would find other people to back you up, but
not just the financial support, which of course is massively
back you up in every way. I mean,
you've been a massive support since day one.
Also, Arena loves it. You know that.
I know she does. She's posting
all the time, and
always. Yeah, she was carrying it on her tennis bag.
On the tennis bag. She was so pissed because, she lost the one that was on the tennis bag. She thought she lost it
with the trophies.
Yeah, but she didn't.
Good.
So we found it was on the trunk of the car.
Good.
I think she pulled it and it fell, and then she was so happy after she found it again.
So happy. Good. But I love that you talk about not reinventing the wheel, because I find that any of my friends or acquaintances, that whenever I'm around people that haven't started a business or worked on a business, they obsess over the idea. And when I'm around people who actually operate businesses or start businesses of their own, they obsess over the process and the execution. And I find that it's always an execution play, right? We all have great ideas on a daily basis in the shower, right? But who can execute and what can be executed is everything. So just like you said, I didn't invent the charm bracelet, nor that this is a success with a comparison worth making, but you didn't invent Açaí. There was, like you said, there's thousands of Açaí places in Brazil, and if you say, I'm starting an Açaí place in Brazil, no one would really find that idea exciting. Mm-hmm. And I think those are the best ideas because your edge is actually the execution and your ability and your desire to just tweak and perfect, which I think is the best way of starting a business, because first of all, there's a massive de-risk when the idea has already been tested.
Exactly.
And you can just do things a little better. And that's what I hope to do with...
You're not doing it a little better, you're doing much better.
I appreciate it.
It's so sick.
Thank you. I love it. We're very happy.
I don't know if people can see, but I have my own race car. He made my own race car in a Poubelle charm, which is crazy, and everybody asked me about it, and then
the one of one. Yeah. So on every episode of the Gstaad Guy podcast, we play a brief game of à la Poubelle versus Fantastique.
Okay.
Where you list two things that are à la Poubelle to you and two things that are Fantastique. Could be something in the society, something in the world that surrounds you, something that you experienced recently.
I think that friendship is Fantastique. And I think that believing in yourself is Fantastique also.
I agree.
And I think that...
we're blessed with both. Friendship for each other, believing in ourselves and believing in each other.
True.
It's a good...
Cheers to us.
Cheers to us.
À la Poubelle. Okay, I wanted to say something that I cannot say because then people are going to give me so much shit.
Pretending to be the CEO of Oakberry.
That's definitely à la Poubelle. Liars is à la Poubelle.
Yeah.
Envy is à la Poubelle for sure. Those are the two worst things I think in the world, and it ends up making so much bad stuff happens just because of that, so quite obvious and cliche, but I mean,
I appreciate you sharing that. Thank you. I have one question I forgot to ask you. We discussed this a few days ago with a friend of ours that's a founder and was a CEO for a very long time, and we asked him, can you be a great CEO for a long time while always being very kind and never being a dick? And I've only ever seen you be extremely kind. Do you think it's possible?
I mean, I'm positive it's possible. it all depends on what you consider a dick also. Sometimes you have to be a dick to protect the person, you know?
Yeah.
Like when someone tells you that they're going to open something and you try to protect them by telling not to do it, you're being a dick, but you're trying to be protective.
Yeah.
So I think that being a dick on purpose, that's the problem. And I think, yes, you can be a CEO for a long time without being a dick on purpose. You're gonna make a lot of mistakes and stuff, and sometimes you can be a dick. But the problem is when you do that on purpose. So,
fine. Well, thank you so much for being here.
No, my pleasure, man.
It's so cool to do this with you and to be out of character and to be able to have these conversations.
Very cool. Congratulations on everything, man.
It wouldn't be possible without your love and support.
It would, but I mean, I'm glad I'm here to watch you thrive.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here, and hope to see you on this podcast again soon.
Just invite me. I'll be here.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Gstaad Guy podcast. If you're keen to learn more, please follow along by engaging with our social channels on Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Merci beaucoup, à la prochaine, and a big hug from the Gstaad Guy.